Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and today we're going to be looking at the patch 2.3 patch notes that just came out today on July 4th, 2014. Happy Independence Day, guys. Anyway, a few things to keep in mind. One, these are preliminary patch notes, as it does say right here, which means this isn't everything that's going to be in patch 2.3. Now, I had a hard time finding things that seemed like they were missing, but I'll point out a few things that we should definitely keep our eyes on for when the full patch notes are released. Point number two, full patch notes should be released on Monday, July 7th. At least that's what they said at the last live letter, so that's what I'm expecting. And finally, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. It's going to be a long video, but we're going to try and go through it as quickly as possible. But just hope you're ready for a long video. Don't think anyone's surprised when I do a long video. So anyway, gonna burn through the first part. Now, of course, I'm not going to read all these. These are all the new quests for the main story mission once you've beaten the main story mission from 2.2. Here's the quest for the Crystal Tower. Obviously, you're going to have to have beaten the first part of the Crystal Tower in order to access it. And there's also the quest for Ramuh Extreme, Judgment Bolts and Lightning. Now, one thing I do want to point out, it seems you are going to have to beat Leviathan Extreme and Mogglmog Extreme in order to access Ramuh Extreme. However, you no longer have to beat Garuda, Titan, and Ifrit Extreme in order to gain access to Leviathan and Mogglmog. So those fights, in all reality, aren't as bad as the first three Extreme fights, but I am hoping the Ramuh fight ends up being a decent challenge. We have the new Hildebrand quest, we have the new side quest for the Delivery Moogle, all the names of the quests, where to get them, what the prereqs are, all that information is here. The new Wandering Minstrel quest, Sing Me Another Song. I wasn't sure what this was at first, but I realized you have to beat the Ultimate Ballad, which is Ultima Hard Mode. And you also have to beat the second QoL of Bahamut Turn 4. This is Savage QoL. It says it later in the patch notes, but this is the quest for the Savage QoL of Bahamut, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Some new side quests were added. Simply to Die For will actually allow you to dye your artifact gear. It'll augment it so it can be dyed. Bird in Hand is Chocobo Stables, is Chocobo Raising more specifically. Gone to Pieces should be the Desynthesis side quest, and Magitechnical Difficulties should actually be a quest that allows you to make your Magitech mount do some different things, such as shoot bombs and shoot the machine guns like you did in the final mission of the main story quest for the initial patch. On top of that, a new quest called Winebaud's Riddles is being released, and this is almost like a sightseeing log for quests, is the best way I could think to put it. Basically, it's like the quests of times back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s, when, you know, RPGs didn't give us so many hints about where to go next. I don't know what the point of the quest is, potentially just to challenge the mind, but the whole point is the quest doesn't tell you where to go. You have to read the NPC dialogue in order to figure it out. These are the quests for unlocking Hullbreaker, Tantara, and Stone Vigil, and these are the quests for unlocking Frontlines and the new feature, The Hunt. Now, after this point, we really just get into some of the new main features and some really important quality of life changes. One new feature is actually going to be on hidden maps, which are maps that you can find inside of treasure coffers from other maps. So, for example, if you gather a leather map, you do the leather map, you know, you decipher it, you kill the enemies, you open the coffer, you might get an unhidden leather map from it, which, as you can see, is significantly harder and has better rewards than the previous maps. These are going to be rare. There's no guarantee you can even get them every single time, and I'm looking forward to it. I do treasure maps all the time, so I'm going to benefit from this. You guys should do your treasure maps. Also, new item from the Grand Company. I do want to quickly point this out, even though it seems like something small. Regan Pepper is actually the item that's going to be used to respec your Chocobo, and it's 48,000 seals. Yeah, I'll let you take that in for a little bit. I'm guessing it's because there's going to be some major importance to our Chocobos in the Gold Saucer, and they want to make the switch a meaningful one. But that's a lot of seals. That's all I'm going to say. It's a lot of seals. They are trying to make the Chocobo easier to level in this patch, though. They're going to increase the man's best friend Grand Company actions, and later in the patch notes, they actually also have other ways of increasing your Chocobo's EXP gain, which I'll get to when I talk to them. Some reductions in Grand Company action costs, some Grand Company quality of life changes, private housing, not even private housing, private chambers. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Another new feature coming in patch 2.3, it basically gives you your own personal room inside of a free company house. So you do have to be part of a free company that owns an estate. It doesn't matter what size the estate is, it doesn't affect your private chambers in any way, shape, or form, so don't worry about it. They're going to cost 300,000 gil, and once you have that, you're going to be able to, well, make your own room. Decorate it however you want with any of the interior furnishings. You can put up to 50 furnishings inside it, so definitely make sure to show some of your creative side. While we're on the topic of housing, you're also going to be able to add a Chocobo stable for, Chocobo Raising. Chocobo Raising, very briefly, I'll go over it. Basically, it allows you to train your Chocobo once every real-life hour, and they gain experience points. In order to train them, you need to give them a feed. If you feed them the same feed over and over again, it becomes their favorite feed. And you can actually give your chocobo bonuses out in the open world while you're battling with them. Now keep in mind, you don't have to have a favorite feed in order to actually feed them something, but if you do, the effect is greatened. So you can actually feed your chocobo while you're fighting with it out in the open world now, and you can get things such as companion EXP buffs, attack damage bonuses, things like that. So it can make your chocobo leveling a little quicker or a little bit more effective. Now, there is a way to even increase your chocobo rank if it's already rank 10, and you have to feed it a Thevenarian onion. You can go all the way up to rank 20, and then, I don't know, maybe it's only, I hope we can get all 3 skills to rank 10 with this, but we're just going to have to see where it all goes. I'm assuming that this is sort of just the precursor for what we're going to need to do for the gold saucer. I'm sure that this is going to affect the gold saucer in some way, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. Also, you got to make sure to clean your stable, and you need a magic stable broom in order to do it. That affects how much EXP they gain from your training sessions. Now, on top of that, we have some more challenge log things. Some PvP information is going to be coming up as well. For example, they added frontline effects to the challenge log, and they also buffed the Wolf's Den challenge log experience. It used to be like 200, regardless of your level. It's now, the one for winning 3 matches, I believe, is 15% of the EXP to your next rank. And a wolf in your belly, which I believe is participate in 10 matches, is 10% of your EXP until next rank. So you can actually get a lot of bonus PvP experience every week just from doing your challenge log. Sorry, I had a little bit of an itch. Moving in, we have some more aesthetic things. The Aesthetician's got new hairstyles, more dialogue, changes to Revenant's Toll again, obviously. And then we go into something that I've been wanting to pay a lot of attention to, and that is class changes. Now, I don't think these are all the class changes. Again, these are preliminary patch notes, so not everything in these... This isn't the complete amount of patch notes. And the reason why I want to believe that... Now, some of these things are nice. Sword, Shield, Oath, and Defiance not falling off after you die is great. I know a million tanks. Actually, I know one tank very specifically who can make use of this. And on top of that, quick White Mage buff. Presence of Mind is having its recast reduced and its duration increased, which is just nice. It was a good spell, but now it's even better, and it can be used more frequently. And then we want to talk about the Black Mage and Summoner changes, because that was really what everybody was waiting for, and these are a little underwhelming after the very high expectations I set for what I expected the changes to be. Fire, Blizzard, Fire 3, and Blizzard 3 all getting potency increases. It is a buff, and realistically, that buff in itself will really catch Black Mages up. 20 potency over the course of an entire fight is a lot of extra damage, believe it or not. But I still would have liked to have seen more meaningful changes to the way the job is played, fix some of the things that bug me, like Thundercloud procs being extremely low, wasted Firestarter procs, things like that. And then they said they wanted to make some of the less useful spells more useful. Well, Pocket of Stasis got the change that I think everybody wanted. And instead of it just being those 3 specific elements, it just increases your... It just reduces your vulnerability to magic by 20%. You cast on somebody and they're 20% more resistant to magic. A lot more useful. Mana Wall saw, I don't know, I guess a nerf. Instead of it lasting 60 seconds, it only lasts 20 seconds now. So I guess it has to be used a little bit more meaningfully if you're actually going to use it in places like turn 5. And then Arcanist. Bio 2 had its MP cost reduced. I don't know if that's supposed to throw off how useful Contagion is and make using Ifrit a little bit more meaningful, but I don't know. I didn't really see that as a needed change, but sure, I'll accept it. And even Garuda saw a little bit of a buff. Aerial Slash has no cast time, I guess now. Aerial Slash is your AoE ability that Garuda does. At least I believe it is. Aerial Slash. Yeah, because, 3-second cast time, that's got to be the AoE ability. So Garuda's AoE can now be cast instantly. That may make it a little bit more useful and actually is just a direct buff to Garuda. Ifrit also saw potency increases to Flaming Crush and Crimson Cyclone. Only 5 potency, though. I'm going to tell you right now that if this is it, if these are not just the preliminary changes and these are actually the full changes, that's not going to affect Ifrit at all. There's no way this helps Ifrit in any way. I feel like there just has to be more changes to this, so I'm going to keep my eyes out on this on July 7th when the full patch notes come out. And the rest of these changes you're seeing here are all PvP changes, such as reducing stun, heavy, sleep durations in the Wolf's Den and in Frontlines. And then on top of that, they're making adjustments to all the PvP abilities, reducing their cooldown, increasing the potency, increasing effect durations. That's pretty much all they're doing on all these abilities right here. On top of the shared class action traits, they're basically just doing the same thing across everything. Now, of course, We have the new dungeons. Only thing I really need to mention here, minimum item level is 70. You need to have at least item level 70, which is pretty high. I didn't expect them to be that high for the hard mode dungeons. So these may actually be a little bit more challenging than the last ones. I mean more on a scaling sense. Obviously, if you're in full 110 gear, you're still 40 levels above the average minimum item level, but it's still higher than 55 like all the other dungeons were. Also, hard mode Ramu, average item level 65, and extreme is going to require an average item level of 85. Just, again, making sure that we're aware of all these things. Also, Crystal Tower, average item level of at least 70 will be required, same as the hard mode dungeons. Going to be dropping item level 100 gear, so I'd say that sounds good to me. Also, one thing to keep in mind for the Circus Tower, it's not 2 tanks, 2 healers, 4 DPS anymore. 1 tank, 2 healers, 5 DPS. If you don't have those setups, you can't queue for it as a group of 8. Also, it means DPS queue times are going to be faster if you're just queuing in through the duty finder by yourself. Now, of course, Circus Tower, you can only have 1 reward a week. That is still here. It resets, eligibility resets at Tuesday at 1 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Of course, there will be a housing item from the last boss. And on top of that, oh, sorry about that. My nephew just started crying right outside my door. And that's all we really need to know about the Circus Tower for the time being. Of course, I'll have my own guide for that entire raid later on. New difficulty for the second QoL Bahamut, the Savage difficulty is going to be added. Don't worry, if you're not into this kind of thing, it's not going to be a forced progression kind of deal. It'll have the same loot, it'll be the same bosses, they'll just be more difficult, they'll have some different mechanics and things like that, but it's entirely optional and there's not gear locked behind this. In the future, if this does well though, they may actually put some gear into it, and I hope they do, because if it's as savage or brutal as they're saying it is, I would definitely like to get some gear from it. Anyway, moving on, another new feature that's being added, as you can see by all these numbers right here on my screen, is that when somebody does a dungeon for the first time, if you're helping them with that dungeon, if you're in a group with that person, you'll actually get bonus Allegan Tomestones of Mythology. So for example, let's say you duty roulette Castrum Meridium, according to this. So you'll get the duty roulette main scenario bonus, let's just say you did that, which is worth 110 now, they're buffing that as well. You'll get whatever the Praetorium and Castrum were worth. I think they're only worth like 20 mythology now. And if somebody's first time, you'll get 100. You could get like over 200 mythology now from Castrum and Praetorium if you get lucky. But even if you don't get those dungeons, all these other dungeons have a bonus to mythology if somebody in your group is there for the first time. I know I'll be spamming like Bowl of Embers hard, Howling Eye hard, Naval hard. Titan hard mode, you run into a lot of first timers in the duty roulette, so you can definitely get a lot of mythology off that. I'm looking forward to that a lot because I'm somebody who likes to do those things and help new players with the new fights. On top of that, they did adjust how many tomestones most of the other things give. Some of these things don't make a lot of sense. Like Brayflox, it says it increased mythology from 50 to 70, the total number for everything. And the total number of Allegan Tomestones of Soldiery has been reduced from 45 to 30. That makes sense because the new expert dungeons are going to be the ones to give you the most Soldiery. But I'm guessing that the final one, the number of tomestones yielded by boss enemies, has been adjusted. I'm guessing they give this the same amount each, because obviously from the first 2 bosses you get a total of 70 mythology now, or at least that's how it looks like. And maybe even all of these rewards will be split. Maybe it'll be 30 maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. The wording is weird, but the number of tomestones that each individual boss gives is going to be different than it was in patch 2.2. That's what I'm trying to say. Whew! Got that one out of the way. Also, they edited the duty roulette. The old expert roulette dungeons are going to be in the high level roulette now, while the new dungeons are going to be in the expert roulette. So moving on, we're just going through a lot of quality of life changes right here. The Echo is being added to Leviathan Hard, and even more importantly, it's being added to Mogglmog Extreme and Leviathan Extreme. Now, you're probably wondering, oh my god, why does he think that's bad? Because people are already wiping to Leviathan Extreme from doing too much damage during a certain phase, and Mogglmog Extreme is a very damage tight phase. I guess it'll help with the end of the fight, but the Echo I don't feel like helps those fights. I feel like it's kind of like the turn 5 syndrome where it can make those fights a little bit harder even. But it's there, so we'll just have to see. The first QoL Bahamut, speaking of which, is going to be getting a bump up to 20%, but it is said that it will not be strengthened after that in the future. Now, another new feature, the item level sync. I'm very confused by this part of the notes, and I feel like we definitely need to see it in practice before we jump to conclusions. It's a new feature that basically syncs your item level to do certain things, and they said that they're going to initially apply it to some PvP instances, and then on top of that, they may do it in the future for things such as time attacks for vanity rewards and things like that. What confuses me is as of patch 2.3, item level sync will be applied to the following PvP instances. The Wolves Den matched item level 80, the Wolves Den Light Party item level 80, and the Cards No Flats Borderland Ruins. Now, we knew that the Borderland Ruins was going to have an item level cap. This was told to us many, many times. The Wolves Den, I hope those aren't the only... I just hope that that's not all of the Wolves Den having an item level 80 cap. Because then the whole item level 90 and item level 100 PvP gear, it's already not useful in the front lines, which I'm okay with because it's a big scale battle anyway. And you really want it to be the introduction into PvP for a lot of people, not the Wolves Den. But those better not be... We better have the option to not do the Wolves Den with an item level sync. That's all I'm saying. On top of that, Frontlines was added, or is going to be added in patch 2.3. That's this right here. The matches are going to be 30 minutes, and a lot of the say, shout, and yell commands aren't going to work in there. Not going to be able to talk in your free company or your link shells, I believe, either. Which is kind of lame. I can see why they're doing it, but it's still kind of lame. I was never a huge fan of that idea as it was, not being able to send tells while in a duty, but I guess there's not really much we can do about it now. So, entering Frontlines, keep in mind they can be up to battle of 72 people, but there can be smaller teams of 48 and 24, teams of 16 and 8, in case matchmaking is taking too long. Certain non-PvP player actions have been restricted in Frontlines. I think that's more of going back to the things that we were looking at before, such as the stuns, the sleeps and resistances, and things like that. And then this is your basic explanation of how Frontlines works. I've already done a video on it, so it's not too big of a deal. Moving on, we have the Hunt. Now, one thing I do want to mention is because of the addition of Frontlines, the rewards for participating in the Wolves Den have been quote-unquote changed. Not increased, changed. Interested to see what that is. Now, moving on, we do have the Hunt, another thing I've done a video on. I would like to point out, though, I don't think you can see it in this screenshot, but it does seem that there are multiple non-elite hunts every day that you can do. I believe that there's a screenshot somewhere of somebody going through these pages, and it actually says 3 out of 5. So there may be a total of 4 or 5 builds that you can actually do on a daily basis. I won't say that for sure, but it is something that we'll have to be paying attention for when the hunt comes out. Of course, it is going to have its own gear. I believe at the end of these notes, it shows that this is item level 70 gear. So, I don't know. Item level 70 gear, it's mostly for vanity, but it'll be also really great for new players to get into the hunt and start progressing their characters in another way. Again, more quality of life stuff, especially the Fate Taken, which they're trying to adjust its spawn rate. That's not the only Fate that needs some spawn rate adjusting, but that's definitely the one I'm the most known for. Glad to see it got some specific attention here. This is going back to what I said before. If you feed your Chocobo these kind of foods, they'll get these kind of buffs, and if it's their favorite feed, it'll be even greater. Moving on, we have some changes. Now, this is an interesting change. All the Gladiuses, Basilards, daggers, knives that Gladiator uses now being reworded to swords, broadswords, bastard swords, carnage swords, tucks. Basically, they're trying to remove daggers from Gladiator. They're not going to have dagger weapons anymore. They're all going to be considered swords. Moving down. A lot of stuff. Following items can now be dyed. These are the dyeable artifact gear. You can turn them into augmented artifact gear. Doesn't improve their stats, but it allows them to be dyed. GP cap on affixing to materia. Again, going through desynthesis. I did a video on this as well, where you're going to be able to desynth certain items in order to make more difficult and rarer items. Again, another feature that I am really, really looking forward to. We have the new mount. That's the Ramu Extreme mount, without a doubt. We have some new minions, the Succubus and the Squirrel. I think that might be the Squirrel from Ice Age. He's got his nut. I wonder if he chases it around and loses it a lot. And then we move into achievements. I don't want to go through all these achievements. Obviously, frontline achievements, the hunt achievements, things for the second QoL Bahamut. The titles for the second QoL Bahamut for Savage difficulty are pretty cool. The Rafflesia Reaper, the Melusine Mauler, the Avatar, of course, the originality in that one, and the Domitor. I guess I don't know what that is. It sounds kind of naughty. I'm just going to be the one to say that. And then, of course, you have desynthesis, and you have some of the new main story missions, and even the ability to train another player's Chocobo if they're in the same stable, and you get a plumed barding. Curious to see how that looks. Moving on, just a few more quality of life changes. There's going to be a new type of retainer venture that's coming out, a new exploration one. It'll probably be useful for like a week and then not after that. Just all quality of life changes right here. As you can see, being able to see your desynthesis skill in this class menu is another big thing. Some color-coded inventory, retainer inventory key. I'm colorblind. Personal inventory key items look exactly the same to me. Damn it. The companion menu is being shrunk, which is where, as you can see, it looks like it'll be a 1.45 8 million in order to get to rank 11 on your Chocobo, for those of you who are curious about that. Gear effects will now be displayed when viewing your character. Oh my goodness, how did I forget about this one? You can toggle on percentages. Finally, we can look at a boss's percentage of his HP. I have been wanting this for so long. I can't even find the words. We can finally see percentage of the boss's HP, which helps me immensely. I really, really needed that. Here's the Magitech mount. Like I said before, you're going to be able to do a quest to make it have the actions to shoot and things like that. So as you can see, that's being added right here. These barriers from doing bosses now will no longer mess with your camera, and I know for some people that's a huge deal. For me, it is. And then going in, we have a lot of chat commands and more quality of life changes, some new options being added. But these are the kind of things you're really going to have to look through yourself, because there's just way too many of them for me to go through them all on my own. And then at the very bottom, we have new items. These are all the new items being added to the game. This is already like a third of everything. It's a massive amount. I do want to highlight, if I can find it, the new minions that we're going to be getting. Gardening is going to be seeing some new minions, and I'm going to point those out here too. Unhidden Leather map. It seems this is the only new map, by the way, based on the items. This is going to be the only really new map that we can get, the Unhidden Leather map. So it's not like there's going to be an Unhidden Pice Skin map, an Unhidden Toad Skin map, nothing like that. It just seems like occasionally you can get this Unhidden Leather map. Now, again, moving on, some new items that we're looking at. We're going to, come on, where are the minions? Where's the minions? Here's the minions. We got a mini mole minion, wind up goblin. That's the next set of what are they called? The next veteran rewards. Wind up succubus, the onion prince, the eggplant knight. These are the ones that come from gardening. The onion prince, eggplant knight, the garlic jester, the king tomato, the mandragora queen, the wind up onion knight, and then we have even a wind up treasure box, which I really want. I really want the treasure box minion. A tiny tapir, a miniature minecart, a nutkin, and a naughty nanka. The slippery wavekin will breed like a rabbit if left unseen. That is naughty. I didn't expect that from the description. And then we also have new Denny materials. Denny materials are going to be items used to craft things, such as the new primal weapons, which are item level 95, by the way. The craftable ones that you can get from disenchanting the hard mode weapons. And then these are just gardening seeds. So overall, this was a lot for preliminary patch notes. The only thing I really think we need to pay attention to, I am looking forward to seeing more surprises come Monday when we get the full patch notes. But the one thing I really want to pay attention to is the class changes. See if we get anything more for Black Mage or Summoner, because I can tell you right now, Black Mage, just straight up potency buffs, which I didn't seem like it made sense to me. They said that they didn't want to just buff Black Mage single target DPS because they're already the kings of AoE. So it sounded like there needed to be a trade-off, and there was definitely no trade-off in that description right there. On top of that, bringing Ifrit and Titan up to speed with Garuda, sure, we saw some Ifrit buffs like 5 potency, but if they're going to buff Garuda at the same time and reduce Bio 2's and Peak, Garuda just seems even better now. I mean, Ifrit does a little bit more damage, but 5 potency isn't going to do anything to dissuade people from using Garuda over Ifrit. So I really want to see those changes in practice. Overall, I'm really excited about the patch. A lot of stuff for everybody. Some casual stuff, some solo play stuff, some group play stuff, some raids, some new QoL difficulty, which is something I know I am going to be knee deep in until patch 2.4. Overall, I'm really happy with these patch notes. Very much looking forward to patch 2.3 on Tuesday. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll probably do some concentrated videos on some of these features, so that way you can, well, take grasp on it all at once. But anyway, guys, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitch, where I do live stream, and will be live streaming patch 2.3 when it goes live on Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be doing Ramu, hopefully some Savage QoL, looking into doing as many of the features as I can on stream before I have to go record some stuff for the YouTube videos for you guys on YouTube. But you guys should definitely come by the stream. It's going to be a blast. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. And until next time, take care.